This woman has been praying. She has been fighting behind the scenes through many challenges. She has been a member for many years. And I actually was involved in their pre-marriage counseling. I was there when they got married. I was the one preaching at their wedding. I have seen them through many storms of life. I was there in 2019 after the election results were announced. The reason why today is very emotional is because I've seen this man being broken by many things that happened around him. And I know that his journey here today has not been an easy one. As many of you may know publicly, and today is a very special day for Aruka House of Restoration. We have had many private moments with His Excellency. We have talked about things that were happening spiritually. This man that we are celebrating today is a man who is highly favored by God. If there is a man who is favored by God in this world, it's this one. Actually, I know many noble men who deserve to be the president of this country. Gideon Boko, the president of the Republic of Botswana, according to human standards, does not qualify. He's a frail man with many mistakes. He's not like many men who you would say they have their things together. Many of the things have been said against him in the public. And one thing that I can say to the church and to the nation, that if you ever wanted to know what the grace of God is, the unmerited favor of God, undeserved favor of God, look at what God has done for Gideon Boko. It is God who chooses us, and He does not choose us according to the standards of man. When we put people in boxes, God operates outside of the box. In many ways, our president is like me. There are many great pastors out there who are supposed to be close to him. But for more than 10 years, I have been working closely with him and discipling him. When there was a private ceremony on Friday, he and his wife insisted that I needed to be there with my wife. And we were there in that small room because of the journey that we have walked together. This man that you see in front of you that we are celebrating today, who is being celebrated by the whole nation, he has suffered rejection, he has suffered ridicule, he has been called all kinds of things. I often hear people talking about him in my presence without knowing who I am or how close I am to him. And I'm always amazed at their version of him. In 2019, our now president went through hell. before the elections and after the elections. The man wanted to be strong. He was strong, but you could see that something had happened inside of him. He was crushed inside. And sadly, many who were rallying around him disappeared. Many disappointed him. But he stood. He stood for what he believed God was calling him for. It is God who works in all things for good unto those who love him and those who have been called according to his purpose. Because of what happened to him before the 2019 elections, when we watched the presidential debate, we could see the rage that was within him, the rage that he expressed because of everything that he had gone through until that time. And because of that rage, many voters turned against him. We don't want to talk about other things that may have happened behind the scenes. But because I was there with him, I kept on talking to him about forgiveness. And when we looked at the presidential debate of 2024, I'm sure many of you can attest that there was a different man there. The rage was gone, the arrogance was gone, and the humility was there. I want to say to you, Mr. President, it is those who humble themselves that God lifts. It is those who bring themselves down that God elevates. And we know that with where you are, painful as it is with everything that you went through, because God wanted to elevate you, He had to humble you. And because you are a public figure, He humbled you in a very painful way in public. So that when He lifts you up, Mr. President, you will really be lifted up. God has a special way of working with us. In 2019, you had a lot of support, a lot of things that were going well for you. You had a powerful opposition unity, which seemed to guarantee your win. Also, you had some heavy sponsors behind you. And God, in this year, made sure that He destroys all of that. And it is when all of that support was destroyed that God showed you that it is Him who humbles man, and it is Him who lifts men up. No one can take credit of this win. When you were speaking at my farewell when I was resigning from my former church 3 years ago, you spoke these words in Latin as you were indicating what a king or a leader needs in their lives.
In the olden days, in ancient Rome, a king always had somebody who walked behind him, paid The job of this individual was to keep reminding the king that he was human, that he should always know, never forget. And so in ancient Rome, this person would speak in Latin and say to the king always, respice post te hominem te esse memento mori. Look behind you. Remember, you are human and you will die. And so in my own life, this person who always whispers to me, my spiritual advisor, is Pastor Mogokgwane. He's the person to whom I account. And when he calls me and he would like to meet with me, I avoid him for a spell. And in that period, I try and reflect on what I have done or not done, so that I am able to account to him, because he advises, he admonishes, he instructs. And I thank him for this. But I also want to say, everything that is good that I have done, that I continue to do, and will continue to do in the future, give all the credit to him.
And in English it says, look behind you. Remember, you are human. Remember, you will die. That is humility. And this is what we have seen in you. I remember in 2013, it was on the 21st of March. You were in the USA then. It was before the 2014 elections. And it was in the middle of the night and you could not sleep. And this is the message that you sent me on WhatsApp. Did you hear what I said? 2013. And this is what our president said to me. He says, I don't have a Bible here, but my mind's eyes are locked on Luke 10:25. I'm also directed to go all the way to verse 37. And in these sights or visions or even revelations, I'm asked to consider Jeremiah 31 verse 33 to 34. And transport myself to a mountain. Sinai, I seem to think it is called. And see a bush burning in eternity. An inner voice commands me to pull all this together and reconcile them and advance my quest. I am just a beginner in this journey. What is the meaning of all of this? What is it that I am being asked or commanded to do here? I tell you this so that you may guide and rescue me from this task or assignment. Would it be proper to pass this assignment to one better able and competent to reconcile this verse and find the meaning I'm required to decipher? And he ends by saying, and if I may, then I would humbly ask you to take this assignment from me, Pastor. That is the conversation that we had through WhatsApp then. I'm sharing this journey today with our president to show you something that you may never have thought of, how spiritual he is. That is why I say he's a man who is highly favored by God. And now I want to go into the Word of God and share with you from the book of Judges chapter 6, verse 12 to 16. The Bible says, when the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, the Lord is with you, mighty warrior. The Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Pardon me, my Lord. Gideon replied, but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they say, did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian. The Lord turned to him and said, go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you? Pardon me, my Lord, Gideon replied, but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I'm the least in my family. The Lord answered, I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive. This is Judges chapter 6, verse 12 to 16. So what we see here from Judges chapter 6 from 11 to 24 is that God is calling Gideon to deliver the Israelites from the oppression of the Midianites. He initially doubts his ability and he asks God for a sign to confirm his calling. And in chapter 6 verse 25 to 32, after God commands Gideon, we see Gideon destroying the altar of Baal and the Asherah pole, which angered the people that were there. But it demonstrated his commitment to do the will of God. And the third thing that we see there in Judges 6:33 to 40 is that Gideon gathers an army to fight the Midianites. And when he is instructed to go and fight, God himself instructs Gideon to reduce the number of those who are going to fight on his side. I believe there are about 30,000 soldiers. And God reduces them to only 300. And this is what we have seen in this year as the army that was behind our president was reduced. There were no helicopters. There were no splashing of money, big tents and stuff. Just the Tsarulu Habas. That was going all around the country. Because God wanted to show that he is God who is in charge. When you look at Judges 7 from 1 to 25, we see that Gideon defeats the Midianites with only 300 men. As he leads a surprise attack against the Midianites' camp. He was using torches and trumpets to create confusion, which led to a significant victory. And you see, after the victory, Gideon pursues the remaining Midianites, the leaders, and he captures them. This is what we see in the Bible. When we look at the story of Gideon, you see a narrative of faith, of obedience, and God's power in delivering his people. I want to say to all of you here, this man who is our president today is a man who has faith. I'm not talking about religion. He's a man who has faith. I think many of you thought that maybe he was not thinking properly when he decided not to contest for any parliamentary seats, and that he will stand as president I mean, what kind of faith is that? That is amazing. And so he went across the country in faith, mobilizing an army. And it is that army that has put him where he is today. He has his wife. She's an intercessor. She prays a lot. But I must say that her faith is nothing compared to his faith. Faith. You know what justified Abraham? It was his faith in God, not his religion. I want to say to you, sir, may that faith keep you. You have spoken publicly about how we relate, who I am to you. And you know that in our interactions of about 15 years, I have always respected your free will. You know, I have suffered also as a result of associating with you. But I'm glad that we are here today. And I pledge to continue to serve you and the nation and the world as it may be seen fit. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord do good to you. May He shine His face upon you. May He give you peace. May goodness and mercy follow you all the days of your life. And may you dwell in His presence forever. Let us give God some praise.
Wow, wow, wow. May we give God a hand of praise again. The Lord is amazing. That was a speech. As a